is me asking Eric some questions. That's why we have Eric here as an expert on the topic of AI and patient recruitment, also mention engagement as well. So what we're going to do is we're essentially going to go through 4 questions and dip into Eric's knowledge on the matter. So the first question, Eric, very simply is, would you mind just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about TrialX?
Sure. Thank you, Andrew. So my name is Eric Sandor. I've been working in life sciences R&D for just over 30 years. I was 20 years at Accenture, working across R&Ds and development, regulatory, safety, quality. I founded an AI software business focused on drug safety back in 2015, and AI has changed enormously in the last 10 years since then. That AI software business was acquired in 2023, and so I left that, and I've been the executive chairman of TrialX for the last 1 year or so. Who used per the TrialX? I expect very few hands, just a few. It's the industry's best kept secret, and that's why I joined them. TrialX is a patient recruitment software platform and also a decentralized trial tool. We have the most remote trial in the universe being conducted because actually the TrialX decentralized tool is being used in space. All commercial space missions, genomic data, every wearable you can imagine is streamed to the TrialX platform, to our registry. So there's that decentralized tool. But the main software of TrialX is a patient recruitment software platform. It's used by 2 of the top 5 pharmaceutical companies, and it's used by 1 of the top 5 CROs. We are just a technology company. We don't provide recruitment services. We don't monetize patients. We simply exist to connect the ecosystem of healthcare and clinical trials with our technology. And we've been doing that for more than 16 years. The TrialX software was the first clinical trials app on the Apple App Store. It was linked to Google Health and Microsoft Health Vault. Remember those? Anyone? They don't exist anymore. But we're still doing what we did then. And in addition to those companies that I mentioned, we use platforms used by many patient advocacy groups, thousands of sites. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Great. Thank you very much, Eric, for that very thorough introduction by yourself also about TrialX. So the first question we're going to cover today was around just fundamentally, how is artificial intelligence being used to empower patients at the moment to define clinical trials?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, but I guess I'll focus on 2 things. If you're a patient looking for a trial and let's say you have Parkinson's, like we've been hearing about, you might go to the Michael J. Fox website and search for trial. If you did, you would use the TrialX Clinical Trial Finder. And it would first ask you where you live. And it would ask you, how far are you willing to travel? And it would narrow down the universe of trials that you might qualify for by that criteria. And then the TrialX system will automatically generate questions to help narrow down those trials. So the AI will decide what questions to ask the patient that will help narrow down the field. Who's played that game Guess Me in the UK? It's a really well-known game. You've got lots of people. You get to ask questions. Does this person have black hair? And that you eliminate half of the field. It's very much that. The AI works out what questions to ask. We know exactly how long the patient will stay with that process, how many questions they'll answer. And let's say the 25 trials gets narrowed down to 15, which gets narrowed down to 8. And then they're shown the listing of those 8, and they'll be listed in the proximity to where they live. So that's the first thing. They're trying to find a trial. They're not going to come to a one study website and do one pre-screener and then go trial by trial doing pre-screeners. They simply won't have the staying power for that. So we need tools and trial finders that go across studies within their area of interest. And our large sponsors use a tool for just that across all their studies. So multi-study pre-screeners, in effect, that are patient-centric. The second way we use AI is really great fun. You can go to the TrialX website and look at it. We've translated the trial listings into US 8th grade English. So instead of a very scientific description of a trial, a basic capital to have the AI simplified version. And this isn't just the straightforward translation. Right? We don't just ask an AI, a Gen AI chatbot, go summarize this for me. It's not at all what's happening behind the scenes. It's a recursive approach using AI to summarize, to simplify, to check the accuracy of what's been stated, and to focus on the key points that a patient actually wants to understand. So it's from a patient's point of view, what questions do they have when they're looking at this trial listing? Like, would I get paid? And things like that. So summary of bullet points. So we're trying to make it easier for patients to find trials. I was really disheartened to hear that 8% statistic yesterday, and whoever was here yesterday might remember that only 8% of people in the UK kind of know about kind of trials, and the number of stories of patients being unaware of trials makes me really wonder, how can we get doctors to direct patients in trials? And so I might just mention one other thing that's in the works, Andrew. In the US, we're now a registered application developer for this company called Epic. Epic is one of the best electronic health record systems in the world and the dominant one in the US. And what we're working on with one of our customers is so that in the workflow, at the point of care with a patient, based on their EHR data in the clinic, if they might qualify for a trial, the doctor will get alerts. And as I was listening to that kind of, just patients aren't told by their doctors, that kind of alert, I think, for the doctors could be a really powerful solution to the awareness problem.
Yeah, that's a great point, Eric. Isn't it? A powerful alert like that to doctors is very helpful, but patients being signposted towards trials. And thank you for your explanations of how TrialX works and mobile as well. That was really useful too. So the next question is looking a bit forward, really. How is artificial intelligence shaping future strategies at patient engagement, as you say, refit?
Well, that's interesting. I'd love to ask, is anyone using AI right now as you think about your patient recruitment and engagement? Any hats? Then there are a few. That'll be an interesting question to ask each year and see how that goes. You know, what I would say is we're at such a time of change right now. I've worked in this area of AI for 10 years, and I thought things were changing really quickly 10 years ago. But they weren't really. You know, the capabilities of AI today are unrecognizable when I started working with AI in 2015. And what's clear is discovery organizations at a lot of your companies where you work are using AI to such good effect to target new therapies that are precision therapies for specific groups of patients, but have specific attributes. And this trend towards personalization, I think, is universal across industries. But I would say, as our trials even become geared around this patient genotype, phenotype, this group of patients based on their genetics are the ones we need for this trial. it really changes things dramatically across the R&D life cycle. And obviously, we have to accrue patients of that particular type. So, what we're doing right now, we are linking to patients' electronic health records. Our registry does enable our clients to capture wearables data and multi-omic data so that you're kind of preparing for the future. But where patients have life-threatening illnesses, as we've heard about, they're really quite willing to give their data if it's going to be used well. And that's then a burden of personalization that comes on all of us interacting with that patient. And so I think we've got to think about personalization as a theme of how we interact with every patient, both for recruitment and for engagement, and make sure we're utilizing all the information we had about them. And AI can be very helpful for that. So that would be kind of one thing I would say. The other thing I would say is I think over the next couple of years, we're going to see a lot of AI-generated avatars. I don't know, has anybody had like an interaction with a fake avatar and had a discussion? Anybody done that yet? Yeah. I'd be interested what folks' reactions were to that. We created an AI patient navigator, we call it, so that patients can have a discussion with an avatar. And we created it really for the use case of secondary screening. After they've done sort of a first self-screening as an alternative to a call center, they could have an interaction with avatar, get secondary screening. But I think this technology goes way beyond that. I'm imagining that in our decentralized trial tool, there is an avatar that actually the patient can choose the ethnicity of that avatar and the gender and the age, because there's a whole range they could choose from. And that avatar will provide some of that support to the patient throughout that clinical trial. I have found the interactions with these avatars supported by large language models and knowledge bases that are specific to your context or the context of a specific trial. They are expert interactions, and they pick up on very little fakes. And if the patient is in danger or needs some escalation, so some heightened support, that can be highlighted and offered to them. So I see that this notion of using AI to actually engage with patients, to become a patient's advocate, because what they're doing is they're going on Google and they're searching, and it's actually less effective than if they have an advocate of the gender and ethnicity and age that they choose, and they can have a conversation and they can say, what should I know about that I don't know about? What questions should I ask? And what are the answers to those questions? You'd be staggered at the quality of those interactions. Now, there are some downsides, and there are some things that are natively about those interactions. They're not perfect. They'll interrupt you. They'll say your name in a weird way, in a weird tone, like, thank you for being with me, Eric. And it just sort of takes the whole thing out of it. But what I've seen is people are really open with an avatar because there's no judgment. They don't need to be embarrassed about anything. And provided they know that their information is safe and private, they will open up and they will begin to have very meaningful interactions with these avatars. And I think we will see these across industry over the coming 24, 36 months. And I think they'll be here in the room. And Valerie, I'll come and track next year and see where we got to on this one.
Great. Thanks very much, Aaron. Lots of food for thought there. I like the personalized piece, the advocate stroke avatar, drawing on information specific to person looking for the trial, looking into the doctor's electronic health record of individual patient, personalized, and an avatar potentially coming to the next meeting, Valerie. So thank you very much, Aaron.
Andrew, is this me?
There's one person.